here and there towards the east, but some bright spells too. A wetter, cloudier, greyer picture towards the far west, however. Similar across Northern Ireland, the rain will be starting to push through, but a damp start for many here, and also pretty wet across western parts of England and much of Wales. Some fairly persistent rain, and there could be some heavier outbreaks of rain mixed in with it. Further east, it's a drier start to the day, and there will be some brightness, but as that whole frontal system makes its way gradually southeastwards, we are going to see many places across the east turning cloudier and some outbreaks of rain feeding in. Worth bearing in mind that the rain's going to break up a little bit, turn more showery, but could turn quite heavy across southern parts. Could even be a bit of thunder mixed in, but staying dry towards the northeast of Scotland. As we go through into Wednesday, and that high towards the southwest I mentioned does try to become a bit more dominant. And so whilst there will be some showery bursts of rain around, they're not looking especially heavy. They're going to be quite scattered, and so many of us will stay largely dry with some dry spells in between any of those showers. And then some more changeable weather to come as we go through the end of the week, but some warm sunshine as well. Bye-bye.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
What an absolute set of front pages I've got for you here. Trump's pretty simple advice to Sir Keir Starmer. It was the day, wasn't it, where Sir Keir Starmer got his rear end handed to him by the President of the United States and indeed our very own Bev Turner. It's also the day we found out that the weight loss jabs have made Nadine Dorris's hair fall out, so we'll probably talk about that. A child in India bit the head off a cobra. What's not to love there? The Lionesses have won as well, haven't they? So the front pages have got a bit of that on the go. We've got all that and much more, including some migrant hotel protests. Stay tuned.
It's the final week to see how you can win big, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? The holiday of a lifetime? Or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome along to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition. What a show. Breaking tonight.
Who cuts taxes the most, the one who gives you the lowest energy prices, the best kind of energy, the one that keeps you out of wars, has kept you out of wars.
It's GB News' questions that have made all of the front pages. Tearing up the rules and diplomacy, Donald Trump warned Sir Keir Starmer to cut taxes and migration if he wants to defeat Farage. But he also said this.
This is a magnificent part of the world, and you cannot ruin it. You cannot let people come in here illegally.
Look at that. Absolute common sense. President Trump warns about mass migration. However, we reveal the latest migrant hotel scandal that could be involving a brand new luxury 4-star hotel development that could be used to house asylum seekers who've been given indefinite leave to remain. Also from the big guy.
I love our farmers. As you know, in our tax bill, we have a clause that's very important. We were losing a lot of farms to the banks.
He made Sir Keir Starmer squirm over the farmers. I'm going to be asking a farmer about what President Trump had to say. And finally... Well, that's one way to ruin a beach holiday. There's always time for the inside stories as well. I'll be explaining that clip very soon. On the panel tonight, the former editor of The Sun, it's Kelvin Mackenzie. We've got journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth and GB News contributor, comedian and fan favourite Leo Kearse. But right now, let's get your headlines from Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you, Patrick. Good evening to you. Our headlines. President Trump has set a new deadline of 10 to 12 days for Vladimir Putin to bring an end to the war in Ukraine or face fresh sanctions. He's been holding talks with Sir Keir Starmer as part of his 4-day trip to Scotland. The US president says there's no reason to stick to his initial 50-day deadline, as no progress towards peace has been made. He also addressed the situation in Gaza, acknowledging there's real starvation happening there, and has urged Israel to allow every ounce of food into the region.
It's a terrible situation. The whole thing is terrible. It's been bad for many years. But it's great to hear you feel the same way that I do. We have to help on a humanitarian basis before we do anything. We have to get the kids fed. Hamas has become very difficult to deal with in the last couple of days because they don't want to give up these last 20 because they think as long as we have them, they have protection. But I don't think it can work that way. So I'm speaking to Bibi Netanyahu, and we are coming up with various plans. We're going to say it's a very difficult situation.
2 men have died and a third is in a critical condition after 4 people were stabbed in central London. Police were called to a business premises in Southwark earlier on Monday. A 58-year-old man died at the scene. 3 other men were taken to hospital. A 27-year-old man has died since then, while a man in his 30s who's been detained in connection with the incident is in a life-threatening condition. The older brother of the Oasis stars Noel and Liam Gallagher has been charged with rape and a number of other violent offences. Paul Gallagher from East Finchley, North London, is also accused of sexual assault, coercive control, strangulation and making threats to kill. It's alleged to have taken place between 2022 and 2024. He'll appear between Westminster Magistrates Court next month. And England's Lionesses have been welcomed home as European champions after their historic victory against Spain. The team were greeted by hundreds of fans at Southend Airport earlier. They beat the Spanish on penalties last night to become the first English team to win a major tournament on foreign soil and the first to win back-to-back titles. Well, the Lionesses then attended a special reception at Downing Street, hosted by Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, who said the Lionesses are a shining example of talent and excitement for women's football. They'll be greeted by many more people when they have an open-top bus parade in central London on the Mall and at Buckingham Palace tomorrow, starting at midday. Their boss, Serena Wiegmann, used the platform to call for more backing from the government.
We need some more investment because we're not there yet. In England, like, we're up there, I know that, but England needs to stay the trailblazers, needs to be the big example, the players first, but also the FA, the clubs, the government, the country on its own, with all the fans too, which was incredible too. So let's keep being the trailblazers, like keep investing together.
Congratulations to them, as I said, midday in central London if you want to cheer the team on. Those are your latest headlines. More coming up a little later.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome along to Late Edition. What a set of front pages we've got for you on Tuesday. So we start with the Metro. It's come home again. The Lionesses have done it. Fans cheering them back after the Euros win. Standout thing for me there was that we had several Lionesses saying that they had English blood coursing through their veins, how proud they were to be English. Some of the blokes just want to take the knee and wear the rainbow armband, don't they? We'll go to the I paper. You can't fake that starvation. Trump and UK send new Gaza warning to Israel. So there we are. The Daily Express. Trump's pretty simple advice for the Prime Minister. I'll play you a clip of this later, but lower taxes, stop crime, cut illegal immigration, protect the farmers. Of course, all things that Keir Starmer can't and won't do. So that's bad, isn't it? The Mirror. The picture story is the Lionesses at Downing Street. Look what we brought. But, of course, the other story that they've led with there is very, very moving indeed, is the honouring of Barney and Grace, who were tragically killed by that lunatic in Nottingham who shouldn't have even been here. It was would have been their graduation ceremonies, and there were speeches made there. So there we go. The Guardian. Trump urges Israel to let food aid into Gaza to tackle, quotes, real starvation. The Telegraph, Trump, cut taxes and stop the boats. And there we go. There's also a thing there about a drug that could halt the spread of Alzheimer's. If I had a penny for the amount of time that I'd read that headline, though, over the course of the last few years, then there you go. But anyway, the Daily Mail, Nadine Dorries' hair is falling out because she's taking the weight loss jab. So cheers, Nadine. Although you're going to look skinny bald, aren't you? But then we've got Trump tells Starmer how to see off Farage as well. The Sun, England's Euros glory, the Lion Ladies on Downing Street. And finally, the Times. This is a, well, I say great story. It's not if you're sick, but I mean, it reveals the sheer bloody-mindedness of the BMA. The BMA risking lives, refusing to let striking doctors back to work in the Times, they say. They don't want to let them off the picket lines. They've got Trump cut tax to beat Farage. Well, let's get thoughts on my panel. We've got the former editor of The Sun, Kelvin Mackenzie, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, and GB News contributor and comedian Leo Kearse. I don't know if I might be able to immediately just get us to refresh ourselves about that clip of President Trump talking about, you know, cutting taxes, doing all this. Here's how to beat Farage, he says.
You know, politics is pretty simple. I assume there's a thing going on between you and Nigel, and it's okay. You know, it's two parties. But generally speaking, the one who cuts taxes the most, the one who gives you the lowest energy prices and the best kind of energy, the one that keeps you out of wars, has kept you out of wars, but the one that keeps you out of wars. You know, you have a few basics, and you can go back 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years, whoever does these things, but low taxes, keep us safe, keep us out of wars, no crime, stop the crime.
I mean, gosh, look at Keir Starmer there. It's ridiculous. It's on the front of a fuse. Bring up the Telegraph, why not? Trump cut taxes, stop the boats. There you go, Kelvin. What do you make of that?
Well, do you know what I wanted? So as he's saying all these things, which are not only the opposite of what Starmer believes, but actually Starmer has enacted policies in the complete opposite direction. You can imagine the greatest shot would have been of Starmer clenching his rear end together as he's sitting there thinking to himself...
That's happened in a while.
Yeah, thinking to himself, when is this all going to end? How long have I got? And the thing about Trump is, Trump likes being asked questions because it means that he's talking, right? And so, anyway, so for 59 minutes... this old Starmer squeezing his buttocks together, hoping to God that something actually happens which ends this nightmare. It was a very, very, depending on whose side you're on, that was a most enjoyable 1 hour.
Well, Leo, and yeah, I mean, if we might as well do a little roll through of some of these. I mean, we got the Daily Mail, have we? Trump tells Starmer how to see off Farage. It ain't rocket science. Cut taxes and ruinous immigration. No, your thoughts?
Yeah, but Trump's right. It is pretty simple stuff. We always get politicians in this country who say, "Oh, we'd love to cut taxes, or we'd love to stop immigration, but it's too difficult. We've got international obligations. We've got a whole bunch of communists who need to suckle at the teat of the taxpayer. We need to have the entire Horn of Africa funneled into the UK for some reason." And it's all nonsense. Trump shows you can just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, but that is so true as well. I mean, this is the thing, you know, like we literally are having the entire Horn of Africa. Twice now I've been to a warehouse full of people from the Horn of Africa, just over there in Calais. Never saw a police officer once there. Then you go to the migrant camps, again it's full of them. And Keir Starmer just brazen... I'm sorry, I don't know if I was saying this, but... he told some things that I don't think were true today to President Trump and to the world's press about the lengths he's going to use to cut back on that.
And also, he lied to us during the election when he was campaigning. He said, "I'm going to stop the boats." That was his big thing. I'm going to stop the boats, and the boats have they've increased by 50% since Labour took power. 23,500 people crossing the boats so far this year. It's an absolute nonsense.
Yeah, so we might as well bring up, because it's on the Express as well, Benjamin, you know, look, lower taxes, stop crime, cut illegal migration, protect farmers. Well, Sir Keir Starmer's going to raise your taxes. I mean, stop crime. He actually signed a letter at one point when he was in opposition, didn't he, to allow a load of criminals to stay in Britain, one of them well to kill a bloke with a machete. Cut illegal migration, it's up 50%, protect farmers. Well, we all know how that's gone. So, yeah.
Well, I think, you know, what Keir Starmer showed is that he's a great diplomat. You know, in that meeting, he looked like the, a bastion of dignity and diplomacy, those kind of traits.
Yeah, exactly.
Best. So I think we should be proud of that.
Oh, I love you. I love you. I just love it. Look at this, fantastic.
I don't need to speculate about his buttocks. I think he did a fantastic job in front of the camera. And also, you know, let's be honest, would you want to take advice from Donald Trump? Because the economic growth in the US has halved in the last 6 months.
It's still 3 times the size of ours, by the way. The one line that I either Starmer has been telling Trump lies, or Starmer has misunderstood what's been happening. He says here, "I hear you've taken a very strong stand on immigration." Now, actually, he hasn't taken a strong stand on immigration. In fact, he's done the opposite. So why did Trump say that?
Well, this is it. So have we got a clip at all that we can use of when Sir Keir Starmer's pressed on immigration? Because he basically made the point, didn't he, that he says, well, deportations are up, we're stopping the boats, we're going to smash the gangs. So I think we've probably got a clip of Starmer on immigration that we can wheel out. And but I just thought that was actually just not really true, was it? And again, Trump using the thing about how illegal immigration, or really even legal, is going to ruin Europe.
Yeah.
That should be a wake-up call.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think people talk about this as if it's in the ether. It's always a sort of hypothetical scenario. We talk about it. We talk about values, and we talk about, you know, GDP on a graph and all that sort of stuff. But walk down the street. I think now so many British people are walking down the street and saying, "Oh my God, what has happened to this country?" And it's not just the places, you know, the city centres that used to have, huge numbers of new arrivals. Now that, you know, they're coming to places like Epping and all these other places, it's really causing some social friction.
But do you know, it's also a Labour problem. Do you see the survey, the YouGov survey, which they looked at Labour, and they even looked at the Greens, and both sides were saying, a majority of Labour supporters said social cohesion is a problem caused by migration. And even the Greens, it was just under half, were saying it was a problem. So it's not I'm a conservative. I know this comes as a surprise to you, but it's not just me. It is people like you who are concerned about the very nature of our country changing.
Well, we have a problem with social cohesion because people don't buy a house or a flat by the time they're 30, and then they don't know their neighbours, and they don't have a sense of community,
honestly,
and they don't get to local shops.
Reason?
I think it's a part of it, for sure. But there's no...
after all, Angela Rayner actually accepted. She did throw in your caveat about economic problems, but actually Rayner actually said that it was due to migration as well. It was only last week. So, you know...
I do think there's a problem that when people move here, they're not obliged to integrate on a greater scale. Obviously, lots of migrants do, but the fact that there are so many who don't causes problems. There's no doubt about it. But I'd just point out on the high streets being pretty uninspiring is that actually a part of the reason that's happened is because British shops, small business owners, can't compete with all the US companies that don't pay taxes here. So there's a certain irony in this.
OK. One of the other things that... Let's hear the clip about the migration question first. Bev Turner, our very own, did ask this. We've got that migration clip. Should we play it?
The President makes it look easy dealing with illegal migration. You must be envious of his record in such a short period of time.
Well, I think we've been discussing irregular, illegal migration is a huge issue in both of our countries. In the United Kingdom, it is a real cause for concern, and that's why we must bear down on it in all its aspects.
You see, that's not true. And I don't mind saying this now, because we've all seen it. The whole point of me going over there was to show you all exactly how untrue it was that Keir Starmer says he's bearing down on this. The other thing that was hilarious from today is what happened with Sadiq Khan. Let's play that clip.
I'm not a fan of your mayor. Why not? I think he's done a terrible job. The mayor of London, but a nasty person. I think he's a friend of mine. No, I think he's done a terrible job. But I would certainly visit London. Yeah.
Yeah, that sums it up, though, doesn't it? Sir Keir Starmer, in the same breath, saying that he's doing everything he can to bear down on migration, both legal and illegal, but then saying that he's actually really good friends with a bloke who is responsible, in many people's eyes, for ruining our capital city and then banging on about how great and diverse it is.
Yeah, making London such a magnet, such a carrot that draws people across the channel because they know they can get to London, they can work in the grey economy, they can work for Deliveroo or Just Eat or whatever. It's so funny looking at the front page of the Eye, and it says, the US President's visit to Scotland was a diplomatic win for Starmer. I mean, that is diplomacy.
Get that
101. Don't contradict the president. If he says Sadiq Khan is a bit of a wally, then just say, yeah, he sure is, Mr. Trump.
But you know what? That's a great point, Leo. Let's deal with this, because he goes, you can't fake that starvation. Trump and UK send new Gaza warning to Israel. So according to the Eye newspaper, the diplomatic win for Starmer was getting Trump to talk about children in Gaza being fed. Now, all right, I am sympathetic to children in Gaza being fed. I'm sure most people are, right? But what about the diplomatic win for us here in Britain?
Yeah, issues in Britain, and also it's been revealed that some of the propaganda coming out of Gaza doesn't stand up to scrutiny. So there's a photograph of a kid that was on the front cover of various papers, Mohammed Al Matouk. So he looks. I mean, it's a horrifying picture. He's got ribs sticking out, but he's got a genetic muscle disorder. So you can see in the actual picture, his mother is pretty well fed, and apparently they cropped out his brother, who's
Look, nobody wants to see, and nobody wants your children to die in that manner. It must be an absolute nightmare for everybody. Hamas have their role to play. After all, why don't they just give up? I mean, it is ridiculous. But the truth about the matter is that Hamas is basically 15,000 bin Ladens. They want to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. Israel, in turn, want to wipe them out in order to live at peace with each other.
All right.
And so but seeing those children, I'm with Trump on this, right? Something has to be done about those kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if Israel acted like an Arab state, it would have just gone in and expelled everyone 60 years ago, and everybody would have forgotten it by now. So it's because Israel tries to do things in a humanitarian way.
Why doesn't Israel do what Iran did and make 20,000 child soldiers to be murdered on the front line? People forget that side of it. But I would say you do slightly have a point about Gaza, because there's a kind of a colonial hangover to this idea that we can dictate, we can decide, we can determine what happens on the other side of the world. They ain't listening to us, so I'm not sure it's the most effective use.
And again, I mean, on everything domestic, as we're about to hear in a second now, on everything domestic, Sir Keir Starmer had his rear end handed to him by President Trump and indeed Bev Turner. On the old Gaza stuff, he's good on that, was he? I think he's got absolutely no control over whatsoever. But coming up...
This is a magnificent part of the world, and you cannot ruin it. You cannot let people come in here illegally.
Yeah, well, on that, that's about illegal immigration into Britain and indeed Europe. We're going to bring you our exclusive story revealing the latest potential asylum seeker accommodation. Stay tuned.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, how about meeting the new ABBA? It's what a lot of people are calling Dad Harmony. It's a new Swedish a cappella group that are the biggest TikTok sensation you can imagine. They are everywhere at the moment, and they join us now. Really good to see you all. With us, we have this morning Thomas, Michael, Sebastian, Peter and Adam. Not necessarily in that order, but I know. There we go. Gents, it's really good to see you. I've got to ask, first and foremost, how did you get started? How do you even get together and think, this is something we can do?
Yeah, it's actually all of a coincidence, to be honest. It was, we were friends, but we were Peter had a bachelor party. And like 10 p.m. or something, we started to sing. And I recorded that song. And for some reason, I put it out on my TikTok account with like 7 followers or something. And then it blew up and got like, the first video got 22 million views, I think.
Beautiful.
Just
really
gorgeous.
Beautiful.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Late Edition. Well, the big story of the day is, of course, President Trump's Scottish visit and meeting the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. It's across loads of the front pages, but here he was. There's a very stern warning, really, about the effect that mass immigration is having on Europe.
Europe is a much different place than it was just 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And they've got to get their act together. If they don't, you're not going to have Europe anymore as you know it. And you can't do that. This is a magnificent part of the world, and you cannot ruin it. You cannot let people come in here illegally.
Do you think Lady Vic wanted to blink twice there for help, thinking, gosh, this multicultural vision that I've wanted to install in us for so long, actually, this big orange bloke here is just curling one out all over it. But anyway, we wanted to revisit our exclusive that I broke in the last hour, right, which is that there are serious questions now about the use of another massive hotel in southwest London. It was a 4-star, multi-million-pound development that was supposed to bring millions of quid a year to the local area, and it looks like now it's going to be used to house either A, just the homeless, or B, people who are asylum seekers who've been given indefinite leave to remain. And I wanted to bring in journalist and filmmaker Jack Hadfield, as well as, of course, my panel. Jack's been out at various different protests recently. There's been the Epping one, there's been the Britannia Hotel. You know, there aren't any protests over this yet, and it's kind of because I think we don't quite know exactly what it is. But huge amounts of scepticism now when the Home Office or local councils tell you that something isn't going to be an asylum hotel, and they're not, more often than not, it turns out it is.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, that's exactly what happened with the Britannia Hotel just this time last week. Yeah, I believe it was you here on GB News who was saying, oh, well, you know, the Home Office has said, no, it's not an asylum hotel. And then they turned around and said, oh, no, it is actually. So these things, as you said, they've built this fantastic 4-star hotel, meant to bring a lot of money for local residents. And now they go, oh, no, homeless or asylum hotel. Yeah. Sorry, you know, no jobs for you, because if it is used for that, it will be, as in the Britannia Hotel and other asylum hotels, it's always staffed by their own security, their own people, their own cleaners. They don't hire the local people.
Well, the irony is that a lot of these ones, as far as I could tell, we're hiring low-skilled immigrants to work at a hotel full of illegal immigrants, and that just doesn't get spoken about enough as far as I'm concerned. But you have been at a lot of these protests, and in light of what President Trump was saying there, I wanted to get your views. It feels to me it's a bit like locals have just had enough now.
Yes, exactly. I mean, every single protest that I've been to, it's just been locals. You know, historically, when you've had sort of right-wing protests or rallies, you know, you would have people, you know, following others and saying, oh, I'll travel from X and Y to go here. But these are all just local people in Epping, in Norwich, outside the Britannia Hotel even. Everyone outside the Britannia Hotel that I spoke to there was literally lived round the corner. Some I spoke to lived in buildings literally opposite, right next there. And, you know, they aren't, you know, far-right people that have been bussed in. You know, they haven't been given the police van taxis to get to these protests. They are just concerned locals who are worried about everything that's going to happen to their wives, their daughters, their sisters, etc.
Yeah, I'll just make one more point, and we'll open it up to the floor, really. But in terms of that one that we were raising there in Tooting in London, which is where this is. Now, fair enough, the local council is saying at the moment that this is, you know, for homeless people. But the problem is, and I can see this coming a mile off, is that when local authorities have people in asylum hotels and then they are given leave to remain, which like 70-odd% of them are, and I expect that number's going to go up, they then are told to move out of the asylum hotel, which makes them at imminent risk of homelessness, which means that sites like this massive hotel that was going to be built as a luxury hotel suddenly become prime real estate for, you know, new Brits, don't they, to then go and live in there. Now, we won't know if that's going to happen until it happens, but that's the suspicion. And I think we're going to see potentially quite a lot more of this, Jack.
Yeah, exactly. I will say it is crazy that there is a loophole in the welfare system when it comes to, you know, illegal migrants. The entire point is, you know, you're not meant to be able to come to this country and just sponge off the taxpayer. So if you're an illegal migrant, technically you can't get this. But as you said, if you're at imminent risk of homelessness or you have a child, for example, there's a loophole to go, oh, no, actually, you've got human rights, the government will actually pay for you. So as you said, if they come here, if they've got no housing, the stuff that's exactly meant to protect this from happening just doesn't exist. The loophole is wide open.
There you go. Brand new site there. Cost millions of pounds to build, and that was a planning application for that site was approved on the basis that it would be a hotel that would bring jobs and money to the area. Yeah. And that's just not happening now.
No, and it's shocking what they do when they come in and they take over hotels, and it almost becomes a black hole in the community. It's not providing those jobs, and it's not providing, you know, a place for locals to have their mum and dad to stay when they come and visit or anything like that. It's not part of the community.
It's not. And also, as well, one of the things, apparently, this is according to one of these Facebook groups I was looking at before, Kelvin, some people say apparently there's a big hospital nearby, I think it's called St George's Hospital.
Yeah, very famous hospital.
Well, there you go. Where people who are visiting loved ones or relatives, or maybe even, dare I say it, some staff at the hospital, could go and stay at a hotel there, handily around the corner. Well, not anymore. In order to stay in that hotel, it looks like you're going to have to be homeless.
Yes. Well, interesting point raised by your colleague there, because Farage today, in his speech, which has been completely, by the way, swamped by the Trump thing, he was making a very serious point and allegation based on the latest stats, which comes to the point of locals campaigning about these hostels or hotels, is that the sexual assaults and rapes carried out by people who have come here illegally, or migrants that arrived here, are of a multiple against the population. So if you're a mum, you're a daughter, you are not going to want these people in the area because the risk to yourself or your family has increased. So, but however, what's happened with that speech is that speech has disappeared because bigger stuff has taken over. But this is the first time I have ever seen a major politician, and he is a major politician now, he's not, you know, somebody on the sides, right, come and make those points publicly. So, you know, you're going to see more women, more mums, more grandmothers turning out outside these hotels.
Well, when you were doing your filming and reporting from these various different protests that are taking place, what President Trump said to Sir Keir Starmer and inadvertently his wife as well on the steps of his new golf course there about this level of migration is ruining Europe. Is that the view that's echoed by normal people that you talk to at these protests?
Yeah, I will say I think the protests have been more specifically focused on the illegal migration, the asylum hotels, obviously in terms of the specific targeted aims and goals of the protesters. But that's certainly what they'll be thinking as well. I mean, as you mentioned those statistics, Kelvin, one of those quite pertinent now with the Afghan resettlement scheme. Obviously, a lot of these people are going to be going into these hotels, at least for the foreseeable future. Afghan nationals are 22 times more likely to be convicted for sexual assaults than British nationals. I mean, those figures are astounding. It goes from about 59 in 1,000 to 6 in 1,000 for British nationals.
But Benjamin, any kind of interaction on this, particularly we've got a chap here who's at all these protests and everything. Is there anything you'd like to ask him to find out about some of them? Or?
Well, I mean, I'm just amazed that planning permission was approved for any new building. But look, we have a responsibility as a wealthy country to take some refugees. We take fewer than Germany, fewer than France, fewer than Spain. And so the bit that no one ever says, lots of people that are agreeing with your reporting and your revelations are probably thinking, I don't want any of them here. But that's not an option, and I don't think that would be morally right. So in that case, what do you do with the people during the process applying? Because they're not all here to do terrible things. Some of them desperately want a safer life.
Well, what would you have? I mean, what do you
We don't have a moral obligation to provide safe refuge to people from the Horn of Africa or Afghanistan. People should seek refuge in the nearest safe country. If France was under attack or another Western European country was under attack, then yeah, fair enough. Those people are going to come. They're going to integrate. We've got shared values, shared culture, and we know they're going to get along. The way we're doing it now, for all the government, our leaders talk about community cohesion being so important. What do they think bringing in all these men from violent medieval cultures is going to do when they place them in hotels next to families?
And I mean, frankly, on that, I believe quite strongly that charity starts at home. There was this clip that I believe you played as well that I got outside the Britannia Hotel on Monday, Tuesday.
Yes.
Of this woman who had been on the housing list for so long, and I spoke to someone else who had been on, looking for housing list for 11 whole years.
It's bonkers.
Yeah, it really is bonkers.
Where's the urgency for this? Again, just to reiterate, that local council, Wandsworth Council, is sitting on the fence a bit about whether or not this is going to be used to basically house foreigners, this new massive hotel. The Home Office did say to us that it could be if they were being given leave to remain. And I think just thinking logically about it, where has been this level of urgency for councils and for the government to get things for homeless veterans and for whatever else?
You're correct. One of the issues is there is a secrecy carried out by local authorities, actually, to stop you knowing. I know around my way in Weybridge, they apparently have spent 200 grand pushing together two houses so that they could house a family of 8, right? Because you can have multiple children and multiple wives or whatever. Right. I learned about this. This all happened 2 years ago, right?
Multiple wives.
So my question about this is, why don't I know as a council taxpayer? Actually, it costs more than 200 grand. More than 200 grand for my wife.
I'll get shouted. So coming up.
I love our farmers. As you know, in our tax bill, we have a clause that's very important. We were losing a lot of farms to the banks.
Well, I'm going to be speaking to a farmer in my panel about that. Plus, can you guess how many times Kelvin Mackenzie's been married? Stay tuned.
Good evening. This is your latest GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Now, there could be some fairly heavy showery rain for some of us, especially towards the south as we go through tomorrow. But before that, we do have a band of rain that's coming in from the west. That's because although we have an Azores high to the southwest of us, there is a frontal system coming over the north of this. And this is going to bring a fair bit of cloud across parts of Northern Ireland as we go through the end of today, and then rain sweeping in. And then that cloud and rain is going to feed into western parts of Scotland, England and Wales as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning. Further east, it's staying dry with some clear skies, under which temperatures may just about dip into single figures. Elsewhere, though, it's a relatively warm night, quite humid as well. Humidity is high to go along with the fairly damp weather across western parts. Then as we go through tomorrow morning and starting off across much of Scotland, it's actually looking largely dry. A few spots of rain here and there towards the east, but some bright spells too. A wetter, cloudier, greyer picture towards the far west, however. Similar across Northern Ireland, the rain will be starting to push through, but a damp start for many here. And also pretty wet across western parts of England and much of Wales. Some fairly persistent rain, and there could be some heavier outbreaks of rain mixed in with it. Further east, it's a drier start to the day, and there will be some brightness, but as that whole frontal system makes its way gradually southeastwards, we are going to see many places across the east turning cloudier and some outbreaks of rain feeding in. Worth bearing in mind that the rain's going to break up a little bit, turn more showery, but could turn quite heavy across southern parts. Could even be a bit of thunder mixed in, but staying dry towards the northeast of Scotland. As we go through into Wednesday, and that high towards the southwest I mentioned does try to become a bit more dominant. And so whilst there will be some showery bursts of rain around, they're not looking especially heavy. They're going to be quite scattered, and so many of us will stay largely dry with some dry spells in between any of those showers. And then some more changeable weather to come as we go through the end of the week, but some warm sunshine as well. Bye-bye.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight, and there is one story dominating the front pages. It's President Trump's visit to Scotland, but this was the quite awkward moment where, well, the US President undermined the Prime Minister. This time it was on farming.
We're losing a lot of farms to the banks because a loving mother and father would die and left their farm to their children, and they go out and borrow money to pay the estate tax or the death tax, as it's called, and they'd overextend and they'd lose the farm, and they'd commit suicide in many cases.
Right, what was interesting was that it was at that moment that Sir Keir Starmer decided to jump in to be like, no. Well, actually, someone has committed suicide, and the inquest revealed they committed suicide, sadly, because of the decisions that Rachel Reeves made. And we go to the Daily Express front page now. At the bottom of that, it says, protect farmers. This is in Trump's list to the PM. Really, Leo, listening to everything that President Trump said about the farmers and the farmer community there, it was like night and day for Sir Keir Starmer, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Labour have brought through this inheritance tax on farmers that's absolutely hammering them and actually destroying the family farms, the custodians of the land, of the British countryside, who've been looking after it for centuries. And I dare say the farmers might know better, how to run a farm, grow food and look after the countryside than a bunch of urbanite left-wing intellectuals do. I don't know what it is with the left. Whenever they get into power, they always go after the farmers, and it usually ends in starvation. Let's hope it doesn't happen like that here.
No, quite. Let's go to someone who is, very, very well accustomed to farming and indeed the countryside. It's Mo Metcalfe-Fisher of the Countryside Alliance. And Mo, we're going to keep this relatively snappy, my good man, if that's all right, because I want to get my panel on it as well. What do you make of Trump's comments about the farmers there and Sir Keir Starmer's reaction?
Well, it was an extraordinary turn of events, wasn't it, Patrick? And a massive thank you to GB News for continuing to bang the drum for the farming community, because it matters not just to the countryside, but to the whole of the UK. This is our food security here. Look, Trump was clear. He's taking massive steps to help his farmers. Whatever anyone might think of President Trump, he clearly cares about his farmers. We had a Prime Minister sat there today sort of gazing really awkwardly as Trump was outlining what he would do. And actually, he's scrapped the equivalent of an inheritance tax there. Look, we've been crying out for the Prime Minister and Rachel Reeves just to listen to what the rural sector has to say, and they haven't listened to anything. There's still time. And I appreciate that Donald Trump has made this intervention. I'm not sure he necessarily meant to, but he has, and it means a huge deal to our community. And I hope that what this does is keep the issue very much alive, because the Prime Minister doesn't want to talk about this. He wanted to talk
yeah, you're
about
right. He didn't
other
want to talk.
issues.
He didn't want to talk about it, but also, what do you make of the timing of when Sir Keir Starmer decided to jump in there? It was just as it got to that suicide point, right? And there has been one case, of course, where I've said about that individual who sadly took his own life, and at the inquest, it was revealed really that it was partly, or essentially, because of what Rachel Reeves had done with her economic decisions. But the level of depression in the rural community, and Sir Keir Starmer jumped in at that point. And I just wonder what you and the farming community made of that.
Well, I thought he was just all over the place, to be honest. The point that President Trump was making about mental health in relation to American farmers is very much the same here. And as you rightly said, it's causing tremendous anxiety. Look, mental health in the countryside has long been a big problem, but it has got worse since the family farm tax. Families are scrambling to come up with plans to keep their farms sustainable in the long term. I just think that Keir Starmer just desperately doesn't want people talking about this issue. He knows it's the elephant in the room, especially when it comes to anything to do with the countryside. It's very rare that conversations move beyond the dinner tables in the countryside from the family farm tax when you're talking about politics. So, I think the whole thing was extraordinary. Again, thank you to GB News. We're going to keep fighting at the Countryside Alliance. I know the National Farmers Union are too. We've got to do this to save our nation's food security.
All right, well, again, it was a benefit of and a sign of things to come when it comes to Bev Turner and GB News' ambitions in America. Other people are retreating at the moment in the British media landscape. We're on the offensive, and Bev Turner's going to be out there highlighting issues and point of difference as well between us and the US going forward. Mo, thank you very much. Mo Metcalf-Fisher of the Countryside Alliance. I'm just going to go very quickly before we move on to the next story. Benjamin, would you want to defend Starmer on this farmer stuff quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. There's fewer things that were more fair than that, because you shouldn't be able to inherit millions of pounds of land without having to pay what everyone else pays. And the thing is, Donald Trump gave the exact example. He said we had financiers buying up all the land in the US. Well, actually, we have that problem here. Because of the loophole for farmland, most people in the year for the most recent records who bought farmland were doing it as an investment, not because they were farmers. And actually, it should be for young farmers to be able to afford.
So we need to slash tax for other people so they don't feel incentivised to do that.
Look, they supply 60% of everything on our plate that we eat every day.
Okay.
Right? I would like to give them a bonus to say, have a good life. I don't care for the amount of money. When you think of the skint and the dim, we're stealing money off us left, right, and
Patrick.
left, right, and centre. Right.
Exactly. Right, now this is a story for you, Calvin. This is inside Tuesday's Sun newspaper.
Yeah.
A besotted boyfriend popped the question to the love of his life 43 times before she finally said yes. Luke Wintrip, 36, had been desperate to marry Sarah, 38, since 2018, but despite his extravagant proposals, including hiring a castle in Prague, horseback riding on a Jamaican beach and several candlelit dinners, she kept turning him down. Marketing CEO Sarah said of his first rejection, I just said no. We'd only been together for 6 months. I loved him, but didn't want to say yes to something I later retracted. Well, there we go. Well, earlier on, we asked you to guess how many times Kelvin Mackenzie's been married. The answer is 3. So, Kelvin, you've asked at least 3 times, haven't you? What was this guy doing wrong?
Well, I don't know what he looks like. He's obviously not hugely attractive like me, so I don't. I don't know. Perhaps he was trying too hard. Perhaps he should have been a bit cooler about it. Or she did say, "I turned him down after 6 months." Actually, I'm surprised about that. After all, she is 38. So when did all this start? I mean, had she got a queue of potential husbands, and he was only at the end of the queue or something? It looks as though he's tried bloody hard for it. I'd be very interested to actually look where we were in that. If I'm still around in 5 years' time on this show, right, we should go and find that lady, right, and we should go and ask her, how did it all work out?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, Leo, would you have asked one 43 times?
No, I was lucky. I asked my wife on our 4th date.
Oh, right.
And she said yes. So, yeah, I think when you know, And to ask 43 times and get a no, I mean, fair play.
Did you have the
to
ring
them.
sorted after the 4th day?
What's that?
Did you have the ring sorted after the 4th day?
I didn't propose with a ring.
No,
There was an awkward pause in the conversation. I was like, I know what'll fill this. No, it's no, but I think, you know, this guy. I mean, not to denigrate this guy, but I mean that's got real Keir Starmer vibes to be rejected that many times.
I don't know, but the other side, you know what though? Part of me, genuinely, I don't want to dig out Luke Wintrip or whatever he's called, but because I think like. Anyway, at some point, it's obviously become deliberately comical, hasn't it? He's gone, right, horseback riding now, castle in Prague, you know, I think he's probably the hot air ballooning if he's done that, yeah. Surely.
Yeah, I mean, you wonder what it was.
How many times have you been married?
0. Someone did once ask me, a stalker in Italy. I said no. But, you know, you wonder what held her back the first 42 times that she changed her mind, or what was it about this gentleman that wasn't convincing that many times? But, you know, you have to respect the tenacity.
You do, indeed. Right, coming up, Nicola Sturgeon's back, apparently, with this awkward moment. Yeah, you've heard about the camper van. You've heard about the camper van. Now you've got this. No, wait, I played the wrong clip there. That's my fault. You've also got something about a fighter jet, so stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there. We've got some severe thunderstorms on the way across many parts of Italy and the Balkans on Monday and Tuesday. But the good news is the extreme heat across Greece and Turkey is slowly easing, though there are unfortunately still a few wildfires around in places. Those showers also across parts of Italy, maybe the Pyrenees as well. But most of Iberia dry, sunny and settled, as indeed it will be across parts of Madeira and the Canary Islands. Lots of sunshine on the way and very warm, if not hot, over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, just like week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five.
You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
All right, welcome back to Late Edition. So I promised you a little bit of Nicola Sturgeon news, and here we are. She was overcome with emotion as she shows advanced copies of her new book.
Ever since I was a wee girl, I have dreamed about writing a book, and over the years I've watched so many authors do what I'm about to do now, and I've always wondered how it would feel to finally hold in your own hands a copy of a book you've written yourself. Apologies in advance if I start to cry. Here she is, frankly. Amazing. I think I might actually start to cry, so I should go now.
Right, great. So it's called Frankly, apparently, or as Kelvin, you called it what?
Crankless.
The Crankless.
Well, yeah, she says she's been thinking of this thing since she's a wee girl.
Yeah.
She still is a wee girl. She's like 4'10".
Well, let's not veer into the realms of ad hominem. Of course, Elton John will be unimpressed. Anyway, carry on.
No, I was just going to say, she's a real a bookie. She's the book review of the New Statesman. So
what do you think's in the book?
Well, you wouldn't like to speculate, Patrick.
No, that's not true. You would like to speculate, but there are legal constraints. Yeah.
There are rumblings about how personal that book might be.
But, I mean, yeah, it'll certainly be interesting. August it's going to get a lot of attention because it comes out in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
And she's obviously had a rocky personal life in recent years, and so it'll be interesting to see what she decides to share.
Gosh.
But I reckon she's a very good writer because she really is big into her book. So let's hope it's a good read.
God, let's hope it's a good read. I mean, goodness gracious me, I tell you what, there'll be something in there that I think we'll all be shocked by.
Yeah.
Shocked. No one will have seen any of that coming.
Right. But it's true, isn't it? It might be a one.
I feel like Keir
fact
Starmer,
book.
you don't know what he's going to say next.
Yeah. There might be a big fact in there that nobody could have guessed. Right, let's move on now quickly because I've got to show you this clip of a fighter jet. Oh, that is the moment that's in the Daily Mail. It's in the Daily Mail online, obviously. Terrifying moment. Tourists screamed as a fighter jet performs an extremely low pass over a crowded beach during an air show in Spain. Footage circulating online shows Spanish Air Force, an F-18 Hornet fighter doing that. So there we go. Great. Well done, Spain, I suppose.
Well, you know what it was? It was over Mallorca. It was to get rid of the English tourists.
Have you seen that they've now admitted that that's had an impact on tourism? It's like, what, you told them to? Tell us all to F off. Yeah, it has, yeah. Anyway, OK, sorry, guys, I'm going to do my final words through the papers. The Express, these are Tuesday's front page. Express, Trump's pretty simple advice for the PM. Lower taxes, stop crime, cut illegal migration, protect farmers. The Mirror, picture story of the Lionesses, and they've got For My Brother. It's a heartbreaking story of the Nottingham victims' graduation ceremonies. The Guardian, Trump urges Israel to let food aid into Gaza and tackle real starvation. The Sun, they go off on the Lionesses, the Lion Ladies. The Times, Trump cut tax to beat Farage. The Daily Telegraph, Trump cut taxes and stop the boats. I mean, it's all basic stuff, isn't it? But apparently Sir Keir Starmer has to explain it, has to have it explained to him. The Daily Mail, Trump tells Starmer how to see off Farage. It ain't rocket science, cut taxes and ruinous immigration. Well, look, thank you very much to my wonderful panel. Leo, exceptional as always. Calvin Mackenzie, a ray of sunshine, otherwise dark and bleak existence. Benjamin Butterworth, more than making up the numbers, getting us out of all sorts of trouble with Ofcom. Breakfast is next if you're watching us in the morning. Stay tuned.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening, this is your latest GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Now there could be some fairly heavy showery rain for some of us, especially towards the south as we go through tomorrow, but before that we do have a band of rain that's coming in from the west. That's because although we have an Azores high to the southwest of us, there is a frontal system coming over the north of this, and this is going to bring a fair bit of cloud across parts of Northern Ireland as we go through the end of today, and then rain sweeping in, and then that cloud and rain is going to feed into western parts of Scotland, England and Wales as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning. Further east, it's staying dry with some clear skies, under which temperatures may just about dip into single figures. Elsewhere, though, it's a relatively warm night, quite humid as well. Humidity is high to go along with the fairly damp weather across western parts. Then, as we go through tomorrow morning and starting off across much of Scotland, it's actually looking largely dry. A few spots of rain here and there towards the east, but some bright spells too. A wetter, cloudier, greyer picture towards the far west, however. Similar across Northern Ireland, the rain will be starting to push through, but a damp start for many here, and also pretty wet across western parts of England and much of Wales. Some fairly persistent rain, and there could be some heavier outbreaks of rain mixed in with it. Further east, it's a drier start to the day, and there will be some brightness, but as that whole frontal system makes its way gradually southeastwards, we are going to see many places across the east turning cloudier and some outbreaks of rain feeding in. Worth bearing in mind that the rain's going to break up a little bit, turn more showery, but could turn quite heavy across southern parts. Could even be a bit of thunder mixed in, but staying dry towards the northeast of Scotland. As we go through into Wednesday, and that high towards the southwest I mentioned does try to become a bit more dominant, and so whilst there will be some showery bursts of rain around, they're not looking especially heavy. They're going to be quite scattered, and so many of us will stay largely dry with some dry spells in between any of those showers, and then some more changeable weather to come as we go through the end of the week, but some warm sunshine as well. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can win big, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? The holiday of a lifetime? Or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good afternoon, Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's